Welcome guys to the Bounty course with Raise Your Edge with Nico, and I want to welcome you guys, and we are really happy that we have created this program. It is the very first program for bounty tournaments that is existing, and we're going to bring you all the information in a very clear, straightforward, and very comprehensive way. So you can, of course, expect a lot of practical advice in this very course, but we're also going to approach it from a theoretical perspective as well. So yeah, Nico, hi. Well, I'm glad to have you on board. I'm glad that you helped me out because you have a very strong mathematical understanding. And yeah, maybe you can give the people a little introduction on who you are, where you come from, what are you doing, and everything that need people to know.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me here. Maybe some short points about me. So I started playing poker in 2005, I think, with sitting goes on Party Poker, and then played this and that. I played Cash Game for some time, and then I switched over again to MTTs, and I played Omar a bit, and back to MTTs, and yeah, more or less like the casual player, which likes to play a lot, likes the game, but I wasn't thinking too much about the game, wasn't diving too deep into the theory till 2014, where I had a very interesting discussion with a friend of mine, Rainer Kempe, and then, yeah, it started to become more and more ambitious. So I started thinking about a lot of exploits and started learning GTO. I was totally motivated by all the success my friends had, like Rainer or like Julian and also Ben, so which I know for a long time. And yeah, I grinded my way up, and now I'm playing mid and high stakes, so the classic MTT player, which is playing usually on Sunday, sometimes in the week, but usually on Sunday. I'm not a professional, I'm a casual player, like maybe most of you guys, and I still enjoy making theory, thinking about the game, trying to solve the complexity of the game, and just being better, working on edges. And I feel really satisfied when I'm playing a hand very well. And since this course is partly about concepts or mathematical concepts of bounty tournaments and ICM and so on, maybe a bit about my background. So I got a master's degree in physics, and right now I'm a PhD student. So I'm dealing a lot with equations, with statistics, with writing models for very complex problems. And maybe because my background is that I'm a physicist, I really, really want to know how things are. So if you're, for example, looking at a rainbow, I really want to know how the rainbow is created and why it has the colors and why there might be a second rainbow under the first rainbow with a gray area in between and so on. So yeah, I'm the one who really wants to know how things are, and this is why I was very motivated to create this course, because KO tournaments and especially PKO tournaments are a rather unknown and unsolved field, and I was working very hard on the mathematics and a way to solve the whole problematic. And yeah, you will learn a lot about the concepts and how to deal with this problem. And then we are having the practical part. We are using all the concepts and show you really how to generate an edge, because this is what we are doing, right? We are putting all the research in, we are thinking about the math and all the concepts, and in the end, we are generating edges because we truly know a lot more about a specific, for example, tournament format than other players.
I think it's very important to, because you just mentioned, and I find that very funny that you said you have to pause the theoretical part. Yes, it's going to be very in depth because we want to deliver you also the information you need to know to see the proof of how bounty tournaments work. And in case you struggle with all the equations and formulas, don't worry, we are not applying any equations when we play poker. This is then what we tackle in the practical part, where we try to give you stuff at hand that you can work for improving your own game, and also stuff that you can use at the tables. I mean, not cheats or anything because this is forbidden, but in order to increase your understanding, in order to increase your senses in poker when it comes to those situations when, sometimes we're lost in bounty situations. We don't know how wide to call, how loose to call, but you will develop a greater understanding for those situations, and you will understand what to call, what to push, what to fold, same as in ICM spots.
Okay, so yeah, let's hop in what you actually can expect from the course. So which themes we will cover in both ways, so practical and theoretical. And yeah, the first thing is the recap math of ICM. So if you're familiar with the ICM, we just go shortly through all the equations and how you calculate the probabilities and so on. If you have no clue what is ICM, you will get the start. So from the scratch, you will understand what is ICM, how it works, and how it actually should influence your game. When we did understand what ICM is, then we will add the information of the bubble factor, so more or less a measurement of the influence of ICM and how to use the bubble factor. And then when you did understand both concepts, you will understand how the different payout structures of finite tables will influence, for example, your calling ranges. So for example, if you have pocket tens at one finite table and pocket tens on the other finite table, both finite tables have different payout structures. Pocket tens on one finite table might be a very clear raise call, another table might be super skewed to raise call pocket tens. And you should really understand the difference in the different payout structures to optimize your game when you're on a finite table where the most money is spread. Then we will capture money bubble ICM for the most common part, so you're somewhere around an average stack and you're facing an all-in at the direct money bubble, and you want to know whether you can call a certain range or you can't call a certain range. And we give you a simple approximation to calculate the stack value if you would double, so you can actually calculate the bubble factor by yourself. Then
maybe I need to interfere here because
yep.
I really want to make people aware of how it works. What do they get? Of course, if you're more advanced, you probably know that there is no tool existing that can analyze money bubble situations, right? So don't expect you just join the course and we deliver you the tools and you just copy paste the hand history and it will show you results such as Hold'em Losers Calculator or IC Miser does. No, because the thing is very often on money bubbles, you have 100 players left, you have 40 players left, you have 800 players left. There are just so many players, it's not possible to solve that with the tool. And it's also not possible to make some sort of magical equation that you can use in order to estimate the ranges you can go all in with. So what we did, or what Nico did, and Nico was basically in charge for all that theoretical stuff and the math behind it, because I'm not a math guy and I'm joining him for the practical part. So what he did was he was simulating, right? And based on that simulations, we make approximations so we have an idea what to call off and what to fold and how is the bubble factor on money bubbles. Don't worry, because now you might think, well, if the results are not accurate, like that's not good, I don't want that. Keep in mind, it's not about being perfect, it's about being better than the others. And on the current market, and I'm very, very certain, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, within the next few years, those spots will not be solved properly because you probably need a lot of computers that have the power to solve these spots 100% perfect. So with that knowledge, you will be better than most players and this will give you the edge, right? So come from that perspective and don't expect that perfect solution for those spots. It's just not existing. But as you might know, right now, most players, I would say 99.5% play based on the feeling and based a little bit on experience and based on that little ICM experience they have. But nobody really has a clue, okay, how can a range look like? So we do have a little bit of math background. We can show you also how on your own you can calculate your risk premium in order to calculate your stack of ranges on money bubbles and how the ICM impacts your ranges on or close to money bubbles. in big tournaments.
Right, and we have, I think, a very good approximation if you at
Yeah.
least look at the scenario where you have an average stack and you have the chance to double or to lose your stack, right? So either you get nothing at the money bubble or you will have a double average stack after the money bubble bursts because you're busting out a player when you're doubling. And you can actually calculate without a computer, without any knowledge about math, your stack value. So we have a good equation for this, which you can just use in any spreadsheet you like. So I think this is a lot of value which you wouldn't be actually able to have if you are not in this course. Then we are going to the main part of the course. So why you're actually in this course, we are talking about the super KO and the progressive KO mathematics.
Actually, the ICM basically is just a little bonus for people that want to know, where we decided, okay, we added as a bonus, right? It has nothing to do with the KOs itself.
I wouldn't say this. I would say that, of course, we don't need all the concepts of ICM and ball factor and how the final table. So, for example, the final table payout structures and how they should influence your decisions. This is more or less a bonus, and the money bubble ICM also. But the ball factor and the ICM by itself, we of course need when we want to calculate the influence in PKO tournaments of ICM. And there I'm using this, so I use the bubble factors and the placement probabilities also in PKO tournaments because they are tournaments, right? So we will discuss the math behind the knockout tournaments, and this will be, I think, the main part. So we will open your eyes and tell you how the calculation is done and what is right. So is this 1/2, 1/3, 1/4? Is it dynamic? Is it static? How does the value of your bounty progresses throughout the tournament? What are the fallacies? Should you always calculate the minimum equity and just go with this? Should you add your edge? How should you add your edge? And we will talk about a lot of stuff concerning PKO, like future EV of your stack and so on. There's a lot of stuff which we will capture. And as I said, of course we are looking also at PKO with ICM influence. So for example, at the final table, what does change compared to a reg tournament without a bounty prize pool, or at the money bubble when you're in a PKO, is there a difference to a money bubble with no KO prize pool? Then in the very last part of the course, we are talking about the change of your ranges. So you're actually, right now you're playing ranges in a regular tournament and in a bounty tournament. And let's say you have 20 big blinds and you're sitting under the gun and you have a certain range which you open, let's say like ace-2 suited plus and ace-10 offsuit plus and some broadways and some pairs. And when you're covered and a lot of players behind you are able to 3-bet you, then you should actually, we propose you should actually adapt your ranges, and we will show you how to adapt your ranges in a bounty tournament. And also, this goes hand in hand, we will discuss how you should change your 3-betting range if you cover a player which has bounty, star bounty, bigger bounty, and how much you can actually increase your 3-betting percentage, so your 3-betting range versus this player, what is profitable. Again, we will discuss where is the minimum equity, what should we give us as an edge, and how we calculate it, and so on and so
on. One thing I want to add here is, because very often people always expect that magic pill, and as you might know, in bounty tournaments, it's already very hard to create very profound ranges for normal freeze-out tournaments, given all the different stack sizes you have to play: 100 big blinds, 15 big blinds, 200 big blinds, 57 big blinds. So creating open raising, defending ranges, call 3-bet ranges, 4-betting ranges from all positions versus all positions, it's extremely different. We did it in the tournament masterclass though. For the most important spots, it's just not possible to do it for every single spot. Now imagine you have additionally the bounties, and the bounties can be differently big, right? You can be covered, you cover your opponent, so there are just infinite amount of different situations. So don't expect pre-made perfect ranges to open raise when you're under the gun 20 big blinds, you cover one player, like even the amount of players you cover come into play and impact your ranges. So we try to keep it as simple as possible to give you the tools at hand that you can calculate the real odds you need to call it off, and also what you should consider when you're covered by pretty much all the other players. And what is important to know when you're covered by all the players remaining, and how you should adjust your ranges. We also do that based on real examples, how tight you should become, or even how loose you should become in certain spots. So you can use that as orientation for every single spot. And you will recognize patterns and you can use it over and over again. So you can then make good adjustments in every single situations. But it's simply not possible to create ranges for trillion amount of different spots that can occur when playing bounty tournaments.
Right, so I actually like to compare the calculation with PKO to the getting to get the knowledge of ICM. So ICM actually works more or less the same. So you're working with your tools, you have certain situations in a fire and table where you're not sure whether you can raise call for 20 big blinds, for example, pocket nines, right, when there's a certain stack distribution, and you will look this up in your tool. And then again, you will have other spots where you're not sure and you look it up. And while you're looking it up, or you're just doing the, let's say, theory, right, you will become more and more sure what is right, how big the ICM influence is based on your stack size, what you can do, what you can't do. And with PKO calculation, it's exactly the same. So you will have a big variety of different spots which will happen, and you will have to work those through, right? We will give you a lot of examples and we will give you everything in hand so that you can calculate if you have a spot and you save the spot and you want to study this afterwards. We will give you everything in hand so that you can come to a good conclusion. But in the end, you will have, for a lot of spots, do the study by yourself, like an ICM, right? We can tell you, okay, pocket nines is a very bad call in this situation, but to really understand this, you have to just use the programs or use the calculations and do it over and over again till you understand why is this bad or why is this good and how much EV this has and so on. Okay, just shortly, what you get concrete, you will get sheets to calculate the equities for a lot of scenarios. So,
or you will get access to a web version where you can then use our cheats. Yeah, so they won't be available to download, but you will access to our web sheets where you can just simply enter numbers and you can see results.
Okay, then I did write everything while I did the research, did write it down in a book, so or in a paper, right? So like the books you purchased earlier on in the days, like 2005, you get a paper now where you can read just through everything I did and read through all the mathematics. There are examples inside, and if you're more like a reader and not more like a visual guy, then I think you might benefit from this paper a lot. Also, you get, of course, the equations and the approximations to calculate everything by yourself for the most possible spots. Of course, we have already talked about this, that there are spots which you just cannot capture in a simple equation. So, for example, someone open raises, someone overcalls, we 3-bet, someone has the possibility to 4-bet, someone has the possibility to 5-bet, and so on. If you have a lot of variables, then you just cannot fit this in simple equations. But for the most spots, like open raise, we 3-bet, 4-bet jams, we can call. This is a simple spot. We have the equations, and you can look at this, you can use them, and you can calculate everything through. And yeah, of course, we will update the sheets to your usage. So if you find something more useful or we find more simple spots which we can add, then of course we will update those. Maybe you want to add something.
Yeah, so basically we constantly update the sheets. So if you watch the course and cheats like look a little bit different in the videos, then you see them in the web version. Don't be afraid, they will be similar, and we will give all the explanation in the video how to use them. We're going to use them for our practical videos where we go over some hands and we're going to solve some spots, so you have exactly an idea how to use them properly. All right, then let's talk about what you guys have to bring to the table in order to get the most out of the course. Of course, you need to know the terms. What is a raise? What is a bet? If you're a beginner, I would not advise to buy this course. You need to know the fundamentals of freeze-out tournaments. You should know which ranges to play pre-flop. Because the thing is, if you have fucked up pre-flop ranges and you do a lot of mistakes, the bounty codes won't help you at all. Of course, you're going to feel more confident in certain bounty spots, but given your wrong pre-flop ranges, you're going to do a lot of mistakes, and that's something we don't want. So if you really want to learn poker, don't start with this bounty course. Start with the Tournament Masterclass, which explains everything from scratch, and you can learn how to play poker there, but you should not start with a bounty course. So you should know what a range is, what an equity is, and also how to analyze it, how to calculate a range versus a range or hand versus range. You should be able to have a good idea how to play freeze-out tournaments in these days. And very important, be open-minded. You will hear things for the very first time, and based on my experience, I know that there are a lot of different opinions out there about how to solve bounty tournaments. Some people say you have to take 1/3 of the starting stack. Some people say half of the starting stack. Some people say 1/4 of the starting stack. There are a lot of fallacies and simply wrong things about bounty tournaments. So if you have a certain belief about bounty tournaments, you should be able to drop that in case you were wrong. It's good that you have a certain understanding of ICM. Of course, Nico will cover some fundamentals, but it's going to be much better for you. It's going to be much more effective for you if you already have an idea what ICM means. I mean, you can Google that. There are a lot of explanations. ICM is also a big part of the Tournament Masterclass. If you already own the Tournament Masterclass, I'm very certain you know what ICM means. And I really like this analogy from Nico. You can really compare bounty tournaments with ICM spots. You can't solve ICM spots, or let's say, yes, you can learn them with the help of Hold'em Risk Calculator, but you can't learn them 100%. It's just not possible. They're just infinite amount of different spots on final tables with all the various stack sizes. So what we do is we just go over them over and over again to get a better understanding, a better feeling. We're going to be more confident in those spots. Yes, here and there we're going to be wrong. We're going to make an ICM punt. This will happen, but we get up again, we check them, we learn from our mistakes, and we move on. The same for the bounty tournaments. So at the beginning, right now, most of the players have no idea how to tackle bounty tournaments at all. So, of course, what they know is probably we have to be loser. That's what the common sense is in or status quo in bounty tournaments today, right now. So you want to do these analyzes over and over again, and it will give you a better feeling what to call off for, or what to raise call for 20 big blinds against one bounty, or if someone has 2 bounties, and so on and so forth. How to react or how to adjust when you're covered by most players on the table, and so on and so forth. So you really need that dedication, not just by learning the course or watching the course. Yes, you will get better, but you will get much better if you really study consistently the bounty tournaments and bounty spots. Yeah, patience for the theory part. That's at least what I needed, because I'm not a math guy, and if you're not a math guy either, he's diving really deep because he's breaking down into the tiniest fragments. So it's important. If there's something you don't understand, don't worry. It's really deep, and the practical part is what matters, that you're able to deploy what we're teaching here. And goes hand in hand with the dedication. You really need to have that commitment to study PKO spots over and over again. If you don't want to do that, I mean, you will probably still learn something, but the value of studying those spots over and over again is where the real value comes from this course. And some advice here from us, how to study. And as we already mentioned, we're going to dive very deep into the theory part. So you might not understand everything. That's totally fine. But it's important because you need that confidence that you're very certain about what you do, that it's the right way, that's the right approach, and not some bullshit that you have learned somewhere else. And it's really, really important to understand the mechanics behind bounty tournaments. That's why you should definitely watch the theory part, take notes, write the most important things down. If you need to watch it again, then do so. Give yourself time. The practical part is then more tailored towards to learn bounty tournaments and to really understand how bounty tournaments work. And then, of course, to deploy what you have learned also on the battlefield. But watch the theory part first, take notes, and then dive into the practical part. In case, let's say you buy the bounty course in a point or at a point in time where you have 1 week where you're going to play a live bounty tournament or an online series that consists of a lot of bounty tournaments, and you have very little time. Okay, this is an exception. Then jump into the practice part right away so that you know, that you see how to analyze it, how bounty impacts our ranges in certain spots. It depends at which point in time you purchase this course. But if you really have the time, I would suggest you to watch the theory part first. All right, Nico, do you want to share something? Maybe you have an advice, recommendation for people that they should consider before purchasing this course, whatever comes to your mind.
Um, Actually, I think that bounty tournaments are getting more and more loved by the players. So PKO tournaments are becoming more and more popular on the poker sites. We have already like 1/3 PKO tournaments, and I think there will be even more and more PKO tournaments, and maybe there will be another format of PKO tournaments which will be introduced. So I think it's very, very good if you want to prepare for like the tournaments of the future and the tournaments for now, that you really do the theory and the practical part of this course. So I know from myself from earlier on, I personally like the theory part, but I was always like burning for the practical part where people actually tell me how to do things on specific examples. But I would say that it's very good if you, for example, start with the PKO theory part and go through the ICM, go through the bubble factor calculation, then go to the PKO ICM, and afterwards you go to the practical part and you see all the concepts which we will discuss in the theory part are used in the practical part, and yeah, you will get a very good understanding. Also, I would say that we do capture a lot of things inside of the videos which we didn't even mention. So, for example, just a little example, I did ask Ben in one video what his ad of EV will be. So there's a all-in calling decision, and how much edge would he wants to give himself on this table, depending on the table, depending on the structure. And of course, again, there's no magical pill, so there's no general answer for everything. But like those discussions will happen in those videos, and not only in the practical part, but also in the theory part. And I think you will get a lot of extra information if you are working through everything.
Yeah, and by the way, very important here, if we are doing updates, all updates will be for free. We will definitely do updates. And if there's a special bounty format coming up, we're gonna tackle that as well and add it to the course as well. So the later you buy, the more expensive it will, because of course we're gonna add more content to the course and we're gonna raise the price. But from the point in time on you join, you will not pay for the updates. So all the updates will be for free. Keep that in mind, and we constantly keep the course up to date. All right, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord. I don't feel good about being asked, Ben, do you recommend me to buy the course? It's something I receive a lot. I mean, of course, I recommend the course to everyone that wants to become better in bounty tournaments. I don't know anything about your personal situation. I can only deliver you the information that are important to take into consideration before purchasing the course. What I can suggest you though is join our Discord. we keep everything very transparent. So you can get first-hand feedback from other students, and then you can make your decision based on that. And you might have people that are in a similar situation as you are, that are at the beginning of your poker career, that are somewhere stuck at mid stakes or whatever, or they're playing, they have a full-time job and they only play poker as a side job, right? So you can get feedback from those which might be more suitable than getting feedback from me, because yeah, I would recommend you to buy the course. So keep that in mind. Join our Discord. If you have any other questions about the course, we have the support channel in Discord, or you can ask via email, support@racioedge.com. Make sure if you ask in the Discord, we have a support channel. You can ask there, and then I hope you guys are going to get the most possible value out of this course. And I'm really looking forward. And then that's it for the introduction. Bye, guys. Good
Yeah,
luck.
bye.
That was Nico and Ben CB for Raise Your Edge. Ciao, guys.